Good morning to you. It's front page news and analysis on Classic FM 97.3. Remember, you can send your comments to 33973. Also post it on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Classic FM 973, and Twitter Classic FM 973 with the hashtag FPN. Jimi Disu in the studio. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
My name is Bukola. We start with this from the Vanguard. Atiku Afenifere Ohaneze fault Buhari's vow to deal with herdsmen regarding his Democracy Day speech. Unprecedented crowd at 2018 Democracy Day in Akwa Ibom State. 3 states, PANDEF, reject Buhari's water resources bill, and that is from the Punch. Power supply, Nigerians now using generating sets less, says Buhari, from the Nigerian Tribune. The Nation reads, ex-new PDP, stop Saraki's trial. Minimum wage won't be ready by September. And we start with these stories in detail. Sultan knocks Autumn Fani Kayode for linking herdsmen killings to Danfodio. The Sultan of Sokoto, Alhaji Saad Abubakar III, led Jamaatul Nasrul Islam on Tuesday, knocked Governor Samuel Autumn of Benue State and a former Aviation Minister, Femi Fani Kayode, for linking the herdsmen killing across Benue, Taraba and other parts of the north to the continuation of the late Usman Danfodio's jihad.
Yes, thank you. Right. I am glad that ultimately we are beginning to get a fairer idea of what is happening up north. And we are beginning to see, thankfully, that the issue is beyond the issue of Fulani herdsmen. And that what you really have are bandits. In fact, it was discovered, or it was claimed to have been discovered, that some of the indigenes of Benue State itself dressed like Fulani herdsmen or dressed in military uniform to commit this carnage. And I had always been a bit worried about how our people had reacted to these things based on their own idiosyncrasies and in some cases outright mischief. So I'm glad that the Sultan singled out the governor too, Governor Autumn. I mean, he went through a trying time. I don't dispute that. But there were certain actions that he took that were slightly unfortunate, that he should have handled in a better manner so as not to heighten the crisis. Issues like mass burial. There was really, unless you actually wanted to do, each family would have come to take its own, whatever, you give them enough funds to go and bury.
But would you have been able to identify everybody?
Of course they would have. They would have, Buki. Let's be very honest with ourselves. The whole thing is there's a lot of politics in this thing, and I'm bold enough to say that I knew that there was more than meets the eye in the different reactions. As in the case of Fani Kayode, Fani Kayode, unfortunately, is somebody that I know. Well, I don't suppose I know too. I know his family quite well, but for years he's been on this constant thing about Fulani this and this one that. He preaches virtually violence at all times. And linking what happened to Usman Danfodio and some jihad. In 2018, who is carrying out any jihad to? Let's be real. Let's be sentimental. Let us be honest with ourselves. Yes, there are problems with the herdsmen. There's no doubt about that. It's been expanded for political and economic and in certain crime issues. But it has not helped matters that people who you think are intellectuals would heighten the crisis. And I like what the Sultan said. Let me read what he said. He said, for the records, the governor is not alone in throwing these tantrums. Femi Fani Kayode has always said lots of unpreachable things against Shehu Danfodio. Now, Danfodio, saying things bad about Danfodio is like going to Ibadan or going to Ikene and mounting the rostrum and saying very terrible things about the late Obafemi Awolowo. And I am glad that they have shown a lot of restraint. These are things that could easily have set the country on fire.
Yes, in as much as we don't want to heighten the whole situation, but I think something, because when you look at the whole thing, it looks like nothing is being done most of the time.
I'm glad you use the word looks like.
Mm-hmm. So
I'm glad you use the word looks like. But what we're actually talking about here is people who have the Sultan is referring to those who have tried to heighten the crisis. And it goes on to say that this rejoinder is premised on the fact that Islam does not encourage its adherents to castigate other people of faith or fabricate lies against them, but encourages that once the Ummah Society of Islam is frequently maligned, then it is incumbent on the society to defend itself, hence the need for this write-up. And I agree with that. I still maintain, talking generally now across the board, that we need to regulate the practice of religion in this country. When, like somebody said, I think it was Oshibajo, Vice President Oshibajo, when it's time for people to embezzle money, they don't look at these things. These same people are these same people who would share money, across the leaders, are the same set of people who will point fingers. And we need to be absolutely careful and be a bit more matured, in our reaction to things. Now, before anybody castigates me, I am not saying that there are no religious undercurrents, but it's been blown out of proportion. Some people have done it specifically to precipitate a crisis. And another thing that we also need to know, yes, Buhari is slow to react.
The people should be fished out if
Buhari,
they can't continue to allow
just
them
1
to
second,
penetrate.
okay. Buhari is slow to react. But like he said, he has to react. It's better for him to react when he has a clearer picture. You get in all the intelligence before. A president just doesn't go out and talk anyhow. I'm not making excuses for him.
Well, how long will that take?
Wait now, Buki. Maybe he needs to speed up the process. You understand? I know you want to.
No, people are dying.
No, people are dying. But listen, Buki. You don't rush at these things. I'm not making excuses. It could be done a bit faster. But at the same time, you don't just rush into these things. I know, I understand what you're saying. I can understand your anxiety. All of us have that. But also, we need to have an understanding of how things work. Nigeria is not an easy country to rule. Mind you, I'm not defending Buhari, but I'm looking at things in real practical terms. It's not as easy as one thinks. But as far as this is concerned, I am glad and I hope that people will learn from all this. Look, when the Boko Haram thing started, it was supposed to have been against Christians, not so. Oh, they are killing Christians until the Boko Haram people started hating Muslims. Then the equation balanced. And we now knew that these are just a bunch of bandits.
We want these headlines to end. Something needs to be done. That is what Nigerians are after. The killings must stop. Every day you get some headlines.
Do you think that nothing is being done?
Well, if I can't say it categorically that nothing is being done. But let us see some effect. To some effect, with Boko Haram, you could tell that this is what the soldiers were doing. We can encourage. With the herdsmen killings, we can't hold on to anything.
Let me be honest with you. The sensitivity that goes with these things, it's not going to be done in a hurry. There's a lot of sensitivity that we can sit back here in the comfort of our homes and think, but it's a hot place out there. I must tell you that it's a hot place out there, and of course I agree with you though that things can be done a bit faster. Hopefully things should be able to be done a bit faster. But see how long it's taken the Americans in Iraq. Things are not easy to do.
All right, Lagos State government to stop roadworthiness certificate issuance without vehicle inspection. The Lagos State government says plans have been put in place to stop the issuance of roadworthiness certificate without examination of the vehicle.
A very noble initiative, because that was how we started out in the first instance when my late Egmont was Commissioner for Transport in the Tinubu days, Johnson. So Governor Ambode now says that, look, there are 8 centers located in Okoba and all these places where, and you go to those centers before you are issued a certificate of roadworthiness. For now, any tout can get one for you. Indeed, I think it's even at the licensing office there for you to pick. What we are going to do though is, once the state government puts that in place, then it is incumbent on us citizens to now start looking out for vehicles that you are sure could not have passed. Because I wonder how many downfalls will be left on the road if you actually apply this to the letter. The issue is simply corruption. The government has a good intention, because the whole idea of roadworthiness in other developed countries is a standard. Smoke Sometimes you're driving 6:30 in the morning, you can't even see what's in front of you, covered with black smoke and everything. They drive past checkpoints and so on and so forth. I will not comment again on this until I see it happen.
Okay.
Because corruption.
Potential says not supporting FFK statements, but those killing of our people in our places, not herdsmen, they also faceless bandits. If they're bandits, then they should be arrested as well. Simon Jack says the mass burial brought this crisis to the front burner. Look at what has been happening in the other states before the killings in Benue. Jimmy, the governor should be commended.
I'm not good. I'm sorry. I'm not going to commend him. Because you see, as an elder, Yorubas have a proverb that says that you cannot have an elder in the house and the head of the child turns. I mean, that's a direct translation from Yoruba to English, so you don't think I'm speaking bad English. At all times, you must, if you are in charge of a situation, you must show a restraint to make sure it doesn't degenerate. Okay, now, when he did the mass burial, supposing there's an uprising in the north now, as we speak, you understand what I'm saying? And the state now becomes a battleground. It's only somebody who has no experience of these things that will think that he did a noble thing. He didn't. He should have shown a bit more restraint and worked behind the scenes, to get this issue resolved. I understand his pain.
Could it be his frustration? Could it be he brought his frustration to the fore?
The mark of a good leader is for you to be matured up to a point where you don't allow frustration get the better of you. If you allow frustration get the better of you, then you're not a leader. You must rise above the occasion. Let me tell you, there is no alternative to peace. I repeat, there is no alternative to peace. Because at the end of the day, if you fight for 20 years, you fight for 25 years, for 30 years, you're still going to come to the round table and discuss peace. And now the issues are being resolved. It's becoming clearer that, imagine that it was a lot of criminality more than anything else. Some of them were politically motivated. Imagine how this country would have been pushed because of certain interests. We need to have a broader view about these things and not just jump at every propaganda that is thrown at us.
All right, FFK is just a rabble-rouser. Who listens to him these days? And Steve Obiako says, if the crisis had been nipped in the bud, ab initio, nobody would heighten anything. Government should be swift in acting. Charlie says, JD, the federal government failed to act swiftly as regards the herdsmen, failed to visit Benue in the heat of the moment. That is why you have things blown out of proportion. And Ademola Ikpadola says, is this not the beginning of the process to grant amnesty to another terrorist group? And Okonkwo says, Uncle JD, was anyone arrested who said he's from Benue? Do bandits kill people without taking things from them? I think we need to arrest these people first to determine who they are before we go on the assumption path. Good morning. We'll take a break on Front Page News and Analysis. We'll be right back.
Guy, now what for you? Where your MTN SIM day?
MTN SIM? You price I drop on one side.
I don't call you since last week now. You don't miss many things. So business day, I say I call you. Your phone say not available. I call say me go arrange another hustle. Your phone still say not available. I call say me I tell you say MTN don't they dash some people 20 times any amount where they recharge.
Wait. MTN they dash.
MTN they dash 20 times any amount where you take recharge. Now be say if you load 100 naira, now 2,000 naira be that straight.
Oh, so you mean say if I load 200 naira, now 4,000 naira be that? Sure. I don't dump bicycle they slip since.
That's the wrong commentary now.
Guy, I they go find my MTN SIM sharp. Yes, so if you never use your MTN SIM for the past 45 days or more, time don't reach to come back and begin enjoy plenty awoof as MTN go dash you 20 times their first recharge of every month. Oh yeah, everybody don't go reactivate their MTN SIM. You still the wait? If you know fit find your SIM, sharply go any MTN office to do SIM swap and enjoy your own awoof. Terms and conditions they shall.
You're tuned in to the Front Page News on Classic FM 97.3.
Still Front Page News and Analysis on Classic FM 97.3. And this one says, Lagos APC brouhaha, we're stopping the tyranny of minority. For the first time since Asiwaju Bola Tinubu Ahmed became the undisputed political leader of Lagos State, a formal challenge to his dominance sprouted during the recent Congress of the All Progressive Congress APC. The emergence of the Fuad Oki-led tendency of the APC as against the national leader's endorsement of Babatunde Balogun as a chairman has shocked political stakeholders. Oki, as well vice chairman central of the APC in Lagos State, in this interview gives reasons for the emergence of his faction of the party under the auspices of the Coalition Right Group and of the prospects of the party in the state.
Fuad Oki is in the news again this morning. And this is a two-page interview virtually in the Vanguard. Of course, okay, for those who don't know, Fuad Oki, let me just put it bluntly, heads a faction of the APC in Lagos, and they hope the party itself is under a lot of pressure, and he's granted a two-page interview in the Vanguard for those who might want to listen to what he says. And my major worry is the way the other APC is reacting. My contacts with them at some point was that it will peter off, but it won't. I know the kind of responses that I got to the interview that I did. Indeed, almost about 3,000 or 4,000 people, downloaded it from my blog, something I hadn't seen for so long, actually downloaded and then redistributed. I think the Oki challenge should be taken head on by the APC. I've told them, the few of them that I spoke to, that as much. Don't just think that it will blow away. It might not. You see, whether ultimately he gets the nod of the central body in Abuja or not is not going to make any difference. You'll be going into an election with a split party. And I think that is something that the APC doesn't need at this time. Because a split APC that loses an election in Lagos is trouble for the state. I don't have time to expand into what I'm talking about, but everywhere will be so restless because they will control the House of Assembly, but they won't control the governor. You're going to have a mess on your hands. And it might not even be as easy as it was during the time of Tedola and Agbala Jobi and Sarumi. So Asiwaju Tinubu should immediately, after all, Buhari sent him out to reconcile all the trouble areas in the party. It should start from his own, from his own home state. That's where it should start from. Call in this gentleman, sit down with him, negotiate and go into this election as one united party. And by the way, as we speak, we have not had any reaction from either the government or any of the clubs about the issue of the 50 million that is claims to have been given to each club. In fact, the story went further to say that maybe some religious houses and religious whatever too have gotten some money from the state government or from the governor, as it were. It would be nice if we have a reaction from the state government and nice if we have a reaction from the clubs stating that either they didn't take it or they have refunded the money. Like I said yesterday, it's not going to go down. It is definitely not going to go down. That our state money will be frittered away in such a manner.
A
word is enough for the words. And then people should remember, this was the same attitude people had when we were warning them before the APC took power, and the kind of monies they were collecting from Dasuki. Before some of them are now putting their hands behind their back in front of the judges. They need to be careful. These are people of absolute good character, or otherwise people of importance in society who should not be involved in a thing like this.
PMB can do better if perhaps our security forces are empowered better, and that is coming from Archbishop Roberts. We have this next one. Thumbs up for NJC's corruption monitors. It is very reassuring that the judiciary under Honorable Justice Walter Nkanu Onoye has seized the moment in efforts to reduce corruption amongst members of its bench.
Thank you very much. This is an editorial in the Vanguard. You should find time to read. And it's talking, apparently the NJC has woken up to its responsibility, and the Vanguard is giving them quite a lot of credit under Justice Walter Nkanu Onoye. And it says that the NJC Director of Information has disclosed that 7 NJC panels, not panels of 7 people, 7 different NJC panels are looking to allegations of misconduct leveled at 25 judges. by the EFCC. And you know, it didn't happen like this in the past. So if you're interested, go read the Vanguard and find out what they have to say there. I think we can do Metro News now.
Okay, yes, we can. Elder Sam is just sending us pictures of still filthy Lagos. We don't want to forget that as well.
Well, we don't want to forget, but I'm,
You're tired?
I'm tired.
You have resorted to living in filth?
No, I've not resorted to live in filth, but I can't be sounding like a broken record every day. And besides, the speaker himself has said he doesn't know Visionscape. I'm tired. I'm not going to talk about it. It's up to Lagosians now. I think we've done our part. It's up to Lagosians now to make up their mind what to do. I don't do my own.
All right, let's take the news.
Let's take the news. Unpaid bill. Lagos hospital detain newborn baby for 3 months, and they threaten to dump him in an orphanage if the parents don't pay. Raped Ondo teenagers traditionally seal up suspects' houses. Family raises the alarm over abducted customs officer. 20 burnt to death in Ondo road accident. This one is very funny. Well, it's funny, but it's a serious matter. Police allegedly detained hairstylist for looking like gay. Where did this happen? It happened in Shomolu, in Pangu area of Shomolu. He was going to meet a client. When they saw him dressed, he had these long dreads. This long dreads is a guy. And he says, as soon as I alighted from the BLT, I wanted to take a motorcycle to where I was. But anyway, he goes on, and whilst he was doing that, police came and asked him for his ID and said, you look like a girl. And then got him arrested. I think the COP, the Commissioner of Police, needs to look into things like this. The police use any excuse under the sun to pick people up, hoping that they will be rogered at the end of the day. Now, also in the points here, it says, Ambode gives self-pass mark on security, and I agree with him. If there's anything that two areas in which I give this government a lot of credit is in the area of security and that of a fight against domestic violence. Yes, in those two areas, the governor can give himself a very, very good pass mark, almost a distinction in that. Because I've always wondered, how come Lagos is, given the pressure, the level of poverty and so on, how come Lagos, the incidents of crime are not as much as would have been expected? And we must give Governor Ambode credit for this. If the vote were to be cast on security and fight against domestic violence alone, he would have had my complete vote. But he should take care of the other things. And the Lagos speaker seeks support from Nigerians. We will support them as long as they support us. As long as they are there for us, we will support them. But when they behave virtually as if they're an extension of the executive, then they won't be getting support from us. I'd like to do a bit of business news here. And it says, this from The Nation, it says 2.5 billion currency swap deal to boost foreign reserves. LSETF and ATC. LSETF is Lagos State Employment Trust Fund. And ATC, Partner on Youth Empowerment. There's another one here for shareholders of Keystone. Keystone Bank posts 3.72 billion profit in second quarter, and EcoBank unveils unified digital system. Also, another story here: Access Bank CEO inspires Makoko slum to school kids. Right? And here again, another set of news. 2018 Democracy Day, Buhari's last, Secondus. Is that how to pronounce his name? Is it Secondus or Secondus?
That's what I call it.
This is the sad one. Very, very sad story here. We call her Auntie Ibi Lola Femi Pierce, the wife of Professor J.D. Femi Pierce, is in the papers here. She passes on at the age of 82. At the age of 82, may her soul rest in peace. And Hope Bay Old students give out scholarships as Best Give College holds exhibition. No news here on the Bobe College, Agbede. Sorry about that. And Eli Mohammed says that FG is committed to completing abandoned projects and so on and so forth.
All right. If new PDP leaves APC, Nigeria will move ahead. A bunch of corrupt politicians. This is coming from Olutoye Oyekom. And Francis says, hi, Bukola. After 2 years that we knew they are Libyans, it will take another 2 years to arrest the situation. And a leader must be able to apply emotional intelligence than frustration, says Emmanuel Mwogu. And he says, from Daniel, good morning, and Buki, on the comments of the Sultan of Sokoto and your opinion, you're not correct. Please carry out your own research and find out about the confessions of those Fulani herdsmen.
Again, I say that you have to be extremely careful about what you read in the newspapers, even what can be termed as confessions of the herdsmen. It is a big, look, Nigeria is a big conspiracy, and you have to be extremely careful. It's a big conspiracy, and there's a lot of, the biggest weapon now is disinformation. And there's a lot of it out there. And if you followed what's the name of that company again? That company in the UK. If you followed what they claim to have done, both in the American elections and indeed in the Nigerian elections, you will know that when you look at some stories, you have to be very careful and not react immediately. So if somebody is telling me that so and so confessed, maybe they did, maybe they didn't. You just never know.
Now, okay, you said you were determined to take this.
I'm determined to brighten up people today. So very determined. I know you don't. This is one you don't like, but I'll read it. This is Dear Bumi. Now, Dear Bumi, there's a lady called Kike Lomo, and she says that a year after giving birth to twins, my husband and I had another child. Before the kids came along, our social life was very active, and we had loads of fun. All that soon changed because of the children. I was too tired to stay up late and I didn't feel like going out. But that didn't stop my husband, who has now moved out of the matrimonial home to live with his lover. Where did he? He bragged she was a professional who had time, that she was a professional who had time for a romance. Now I blame myself for not being the wife I should have been to him. Oh, Kiki has lost him. If you want to read what Diabumi said, you go and buy the paper so you can see that. But it sets you, this kind of sets you thinking. I think women should learn to hold on to their husbands. Not holding physically, but to learn to hold off. This one says that this one is Bola. And it says, my husband has got the reputation of being his office Romeo. Wow. Last year he had an affair with a woman at work, which was so public that I got to hear of it. That really broke my heart. But he said it was nothing, that he was not prepared to give up a marriage and so on and so forth. But towards the end of last year, I got a phone call that 2 women in the office actually fought over him and were suspended. Shegun is laughing there. I'm sure it's Shegun, not, but it's catchy. Mm-hmm. When I asked him to change jobs, he said he liked what he was doing and getting a good job at it was possible. He's 48 and so on and so forth. And she asked, should she leave the man? This one is the worst of it all. This is indeed his complaint. And she says, the headline says that hobby preying on neighborhood girls. The man doesn't want to go far. He just wants to keep his territory within walking distance. He says, we had lived in one of the government high-rise buildings for years. This is getting closer. And are friendly with most of our neighbors. He had a regular job, but now he's retired. A few weeks ago, I came home to find one of our neighbors, and she was hopping mad. She said her 16-year-old daughter was asked to buy a packet of cigarettes by my husband. When her daughter is sick, anyway, he tried to lure her and do all kinds of things. The man has become a boss in the neighborhood, and she doesn't know.
16-year-olds. I think Lagos State government should go after.
They should go after it. Indeed, in case you are listening, just send Lagos State. Just go straight. Within 24 hours, the man his hands will be behind his back in front of a magistrate. Now, this one is important. This is from Doris and says, should we shield kids from funerals? In fact, this is a good subject. And he says that last week they go into some story, but apparently, should you shield kids from funerals? I say no.
It's a closure.
It's a closure. I say no. I've had that kind of experience before, and I regretted it and paid for it.
Especially if it's a very loved and close
one. If
it's
like grandfather, they say it's grandfather, whatever. I think the two things that are important, kids should not just go to the funeral. They should be at the lying state. So that they can see that the person involved is dead, and they can touch him and say, like, grandpa, wake up now. Once you tell him, you see, then be there when they cover it up. And she will cry, get emotional, but that is closure. If you don't do that, the mind is the most dangerous part of human existence. It will start playing games. And on that note,
Phoenix disagrees with you. He says, Uncle Jimmy,
Yes.
I know you as much as try to avoid the tension. Okay, no, not that one. That wasn't the one I was.
So you can't even make up your mind.
Okay, is this one?
I'm hungry. Kati's feeding me this morning. I don't want him to run away.
I disagree with Jimi Disu. The state has doled out the handouts to the clubs in Lagos to largely assist them in infrastructural development. Island Club, for instance, is building a multi-story car park to help ease traffic congestion around that axis.
I don't want to go into particular clubs, but that we all know what that kind of... The state has no business empowering elitist clubs when it should be developing in schools and don't get me angry this morning. I'm going.
I just wanted to tell you that this person did not agree with you. That's all.
That's propaganda. Who did not agree with me? What?
All right.
Do you know?
Can you please come and feed your daddy? Let's go. That's it on Front Page News and Analysis. Sports Express is right after.
Time don't reach to